you feel that pressure to present yourself a certain way? Like when you're doing something in everyday life, like I gotta post this.
I feel that every day I go to school because, like, I'm kind of like a nerdy person, but, like, I hang out with all the cool people. Like I'm an athlete as well. I do track, football, and wrestling. So
What weight class?
I'm 185.
You know I was a wrestler.
Yes, sir.
And you know I weigh about 185 right now.
Man, it don't matter.
I don't want any of you right now.
But anyways, like, so I feel like I needed to become an athlete in order to fit in because when I was little, I was always bullied around in middle school. So I was like, so when I hit high school, I was like, I needed to change. So I kind of had to fit in. So I was always a nerdy person. But like when I got to high school, it was like I needed to change or, I always got bullied around. So I was like, I'm gonna just start hanging out with cool people.
When did you decide that?
I decided in my 9th grade year.
You feel like you had to compromise who you really were in order to be accepted by them?
Yeah, a lot. And like when I was little, like it was just like almost all my life I've been bullied. And it kind of turned me into a bully, into like YTH, and it kind of, shifted things around. I'm sorry to change like the subject or whatever, but like I just felt like I needed to get that off my chest.
I think it's the same subject because what happens in life, we all receive different wounds or different fears that maybe aren't even real, but sometimes they turn into actual, if we don't address them, cracks in the foundation of how we see ourselves. Yeah. And a lot of times we don't take the time to discover where that's coming from. And if God doesn't show it to us and we don't ask him for that self-awareness, we'll spend the rest of our life acting out of things that we never really understood. Like, I hear you not changing the subject as much as taking it to a deeper level, which is actually that for all of us here, there are probably multiple personas that we put on, depending on who we're around. Yeah. And it makes you really miserable to manage all of that because you always have the stress of, well, who do I need to be for them right now? And, having integrity is being one person all the time. Yeah. Right. It doesn't mean that you don't bring out different sides of your personality based on who you're with, or that you can't have different levels of trust with different people. But I look at it more that the core of who you are and the values that you have doesn't change for approval or for acceptance. But that's really hard now, and especially for guys, I think we try to protect ourselves and we almost become something that we're really not, and we live with a lot of guilt because what we're really saying is I'm scared, but it comes across like we're angry or we're hard, and we're really not. But in order to keep ourselves from feeling that again, we build this tough exterior. So I'm glad that God began to break that down in you because, you go through life with this whole persona of who you think you need to be in order to avoid rejection. Yeah. You can find yourself surrounded by people who accept you for what they think you are, but nobody knows you for who you really are, and there's nothing lonelier than that. He shared a little bit about being bullied. Have any of you experienced that in a digital realm? Because that was new for me. If you wanted to say something to someone when I was in high school, you might have to fight them, or you would say it about them and be word of mouth, but it's certainly what you weren't able to start a fight with your thumbs. Have you been on the receiving end of that, or have you been a part of that?
I personally haven't been receiving it, but I've experienced it in a group message, people doing that, and it's just you're uncomfortable because it's I want to stand up and I want to say something, but those are my friends and they're going to be the ones that are going to pick on me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're just sitting there seeing it, and it's just uncomfortable, and that's where you're torn because you don't know what to do. It's you want to, that's the right thing, but then you're going to be the one that's
But you know it, you feel it in that moment.
Yeah.
You feel your faith or your character or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, even now, where I am in this season of my life, I'm I feel that God is calling me higher, but it's hard to go there because it's I'm going to lose these friends, or they're going to look at me like that, or they're going to judge me and treat me the way they're treating those other people.
Right. Is acceptance the number one battle that you fight? The
Me,
desire
definitely.
to be accepted?
Yes, yes.
For sure. And I was homeschooled, so I loved the well, not really attention. Well, kind of, actually. But I liked it when people were like, you're not like other homeschoolers. And I liked being able to like squeeze myself into a group of like really cool kids and then be like, you're homeschooled? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, homeschooled my whole life. Never went to high school, And,
you're edgy.
Yeah, I'm like, you're cool. Wow, you're dressed nice for homeschooler. But there is like there's like this feeling that you get. You just enjoy being accepted. Even if like the person you're being accepted from doesn't really mean anything to you, but just hearing it and like letting it feed you is just satisfaction enough. Like you don't care who it's coming from.
Why do you think we do that, that we allow the opinions of people that we don't even know become the scorecard for what we think about ourselves? Why would we put that power in other people's hands?
Insecurity.
You think so at the root of it?
Yeah.
I think it's wired in us.
Yeah.
I think it's just like a learned behavior, like going on Instagram and like going on Snapchat, like we always see like people take things so offensively now, and it's just like, we didn't even say anything to hurt your feelings. And like, I think now like it's just so crazy to me, like people really get hurt, and like it was never meant like hurt. It was never meant to be like for them to get angry at it,
Yeah, I wanted to tell you a little story about that because I don't want to give the idea that when you reach age 20 or 30, or I'm coming up on 40 now, that all of these battles go away. They just change shape and change form, but you're still fighting the same basic desire for acceptance. And that desire isn't bad. It's how you fulfill it that determines whether it's destructive or whether it's actually sustainable. Like knowing God comes from trusting God, and that comes from the experience of obeying God. And sometimes you get it right, and sometimes you get it wrong. And sometimes God will use something that you think you want to get you to the place he wanted you to be all along. And what you will call a disappointment was actually your destiny. It was actually the thing that God wanted you to do. But you don't get this by sitting in a room and praying about it. God, I don't want to miss your will. Oh, this college or that college.
Yeah.
What college you go to is not nearly as important as who you're going to be when you get there.
Yeah.
I would say the 5 friends that you make when you're in your first 2 weeks of college is more important than the decision about which college you go to.
That's so good.
And I think a lot of times our stuff about God's will is all about what God wants me to do, where God wants me to go. And I think God's will is more about who God is making me, who I'm going to surround myself with, who I see God as.
Yeah.
And the only way for you to see what God has next for you is to give yourself fully to what he's got you doing now.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that treat this season of their life, whether they're a student or whether they have a job they hate, whether they don't like being single or whatever it is, they're like, yeah, I'm just waiting for a breakthrough. And it's almost like life isn't even happening yet. It's like, no, this is it right here. When I was 16 years old, I was handing out flyers to all the kids in my school, inviting them to Fellowship of Christian Athletes on Monday night, trying to get them to come out, because I was already on fire about the gospel. I was really obnoxious about it. I've toned it down a lot, if you can believe that, since then. And it was somewhat naive, and it was probably somewhat annoying, but I was already doing it. I didn't wait until I went to seminary to do it. I remember taking like 5 of my friends to Taco Bell over the course of 2 weeks because we were all about to go to college, and I wanted to make sure that I had shared with them about Jesus, about how they could know him. And none of them said, none of them like put down their burrito and we're like, yes, I would like to pray to receive Christ right now. But it's about planting seeds. So don't worry about the harvest. Don't worry always about the outcome of it. You just be faithful to plant those seeds and do what God put in front of you right now, because you don't know what's connected to your current obedience. You think well, I don't need this. You don't know what you need because you don't know where God's taking you and you don't see the full picture. So the best thing to do is like everything God puts in front of you right now, do that with all your heart if you can. And then from that will flow whatever he has next for you.
thanks for watching Elevation Youth's YouTube channel. In fact, if you like this video, why don't you just hit that subscribe button, and immediately after, why don't you head over to the community page. We would love to be able to interact with you and get to know you a little more. Maybe we can begin a little friendship and become family. We would love to do that. And so hopefully you would join us every week as we continue to drop episodes, and we want to let you know that we believe in the youth. We love you. And don't forget to subscribe.